they just play in my game. I'm like, oh, that's the goal. You know, they're off having fun with my game, and they're just off doing it.
We're recording.
We're recording. Okay, great. Thanks, Jason. So
I got 3 on this side and 3 on this side. Mike, you're out of frames. Okay. We can cut this so you could either do a short, if you want to do a very, very, very short, hi, this is the Vanguard Protocol, and then resume, we can do that, and I'll start that. Let's the,
I need to see if I can right now. I need that. I just saw this one. I was like, oh, cool.
No, it's going all the way around. But we also have the website, vanguardprotocol.com. There's a lot going on there. There's free missions for you to download that we're going to be posting. There's going to be 2 more next year, and there's 1 on there now. So if you don't know how to write a mission, if you just want to start the game, we have the book. You can go to the website, download the mission, and you can play it right away. There's fillable PDFs on there. There's a character generator on there that I created. It's an auto character generator. You can literally have, like all the ones that I created this morning, I did it in like less than 5 minutes. I created 7 characters, just click, boom, print, and I was done. And it does the stats, it does the gear, it does the chips, it does everything automatically, and you can edit. They're totally editable. If you were sitting at the table with your players, they could use the character generator and load their operatives in their library and run it off of the website if they wanted to. So it's kind of, you know, cool in that aspect. But Discord I talked about. Okay. This is the Vanguard Protocol, again, for the recording. This is a GM to GM session that we're going to talk about the rules. We're going to talk about how to present tension at the table and what it means to travel through time and wrap your mind around the fact that your players can go anywhere and do anything. You're not labeled, or you're not funneled down to dark fantasy or Cthulhu or anything like that. You have the ability with your players to do anything at the table, either multiple times at the table or in between sessions. One session you can be in the Renaissance, one session you can be in an AI war, one session you can be in Julius Caesar. It doesn't matter. And it's all of your players are always connected to everything. So you can create campaigns and just go way off the grids if you want to. Or you can keep it honed down to just one specific thing. But let's see. For the benefit of the camera, I'm going to go around and ask you guys. You can give me just your name, what you've been doing for the last number of years, what you like to run, what you're interested about with the Vanguard Protocol. Give me like maybe a 1-sentence thing, like what drove you into the Vanguard Protocol, was your main interest, and what do you hope to learn today about this? And we'll go around. My name's Todd Fair, for the benefit of the camera. I've been gaming for, next year will be close to 50 years. The Vanguard and everything that I've done through my entire career as a gamer and as a player and as a world creator is all dumped into this book. So I was fortunate enough to shake Gary Gygax's hand twice in my lifetime. And I really, really relished those 2 times that I talked to him. That he gave me a lot of advice when I had a chance to talk to him about that. So which side should I start with? Mike, you want to go?
Yep, I'm Mike. The gaming almost as long as Todd. Most of what I like to run these days are non-hack and slash games. Thinking, role-playing, those kind of games.
Star. I at the moment I'm running the D&D Christian Edition campaign, but I'm interested in all kinds of things like running class, like Traveler, like. And I've been playing since '79, so not quite as long as things territory, but
Long enough, though.
Yep. Hi, I'm David. I've been playing since about the same as Scott and these guys. Yeah, we're all old men here, I guess. I started in '80, around that time. I've run more game systems than I can remember. Right now, I'm running a Shadow Dart game. I've got a Daggerheart game that I'm running. And we're probably going to roll into some of the new Rollmaster rules for after we finish Daggerheart. So
What turned you on about the Vanguard? What drug your interest?
Oh, well, it's probably when you tied me up in your basement and beat me until I agreed. And no.
Oh, that was you.
Yeah. No, it was, he came up to me, he plays in my Shadow Dark game, and he was like, hey, check this out. This is a game I'm putting together. And I looked it over, and I was like, it's a pretty cool concept. This kind of reminds me of, like a cross between Doctor Who and Legends of Tomorrow, DC's Legends of Tomorrow. I'd be interested in seeing where this goes. What are your plans? And we started talking, and then he got me a book, and I started nitpicking on some of the things. And it just kind of blew up from there. So, yeah.
Cool. Greg, I have been playing off and on. I started in the 80s, took a break. Then I started back up again about 5 or 6 years ago, mainly playing just D&D, but I'm trying to branch out to get more story ideas and also do a lot of homebrewing of older editions to newer players, kind of like try to get some flavor in there and also to add to something I'm working on, which actually leading into what your Vanguard was a matter of like, okay, I want to make this kind of like epic arc. And then you came up like, hey, I'm making my own epic arc. It's like, well, I'm going to go talk to Todd and see what he has to say. So let's find out about this, and maybe I'll glean some things and be able to make my dream a reality too.
Nice. Yeah, we ran 4 sessions with the Cincinnati Adventures Guild last year for rule building, and I led that with Jason and Mike had helped push that forward. That's where I met Greg. And we started talking about rule building and doing those arcs and stuff like that. So that's kind of where.
And you mind if I jump in real quick? To your point of, bridging the gap between games and things, Todd wants this game to be able to bridge the gap between other systems as well.
Oh yeah, we're
So,
definitely
like,
gonna cover that.
When I'm running my Shadow Dark game, they may run into some sort of metal creature skeleton that has wires all through it, and they'd be like, what? And then, we talked about having Mike and one other person, sitting there at the table, just not saying anything and waiting for their opportunity to jump in as operatives. And, so
Time
traveling into Shadow Dark. And I was like, that might be a fun little side game. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
My name is Randy. I've been gaming since 1983, so far I'm the baby of the group, I think. I started with the red box set. Actually, I started with the Moldvay, the blue box set by accident because, and it was the expert set because what happened was my friend's mother wanted to buy something to keep me and my friend, because back then you could actually like have an entire weekend at your friend's house. So it was my turn to have it at my house, and she bought this thinking that it was a board game, something for us to do for the weekend. And I read the rules and realized quickly that this is part 2. This is book 2. I need to get the basic version. So I convinced my mom to buy me the red box set after that, and from there it's history. It's I've been hooked on role playing games ever since. I haven't played as many games as Jason has, but
I think Jason tops everybody else out.
yeah, but I've played dozens since 1983. As far as what I'm interested in the Vanguard Protocol, I am brand new to this. I bought the PDF, and Todd was kind enough to help me get a copy of this the hardcover book. It's a beautiful book. I was telling you, he did a really good job on
Thank you. The artwork was the artist that came together. The cover was actually done by Elena Barbarari, who's out of Italy. Just barely speaks English.
Yeah,
And she did the covers for me. And then Ed Guthrie did the back cover and the inside Titanic picture for us. So there's a number of artists, and we sprayed everything from comic book artists to up-and-comings to everything for the artists that did this. It was about, I think, 12 or 13 different artists that came together to do things.
yeah. I'm for 2027. I'm working on a sci-fi game called Airline Prime, and I'm looking at your layout, and I'm like, I want to do my book like this.
It's made for people who can't see, and it's white on black print. I didn't want to go with the conventional, wall of text with a picture in my corner kind of thing. So I wanted it to make it easy to read, but we'll go for the book too.
Sure.
But thanks, Randy.
I didn't get your name.
David.
David. Good. I have to write them down. I'm really bad with me.
That's good.
Hi, my name is James Red. Red, very, very easy. I'm COO of Ironwind Metals. So we make Battletech, route part the stuff that you would know. I started playing RPGs back in the late 90s, early aughts, with like 3rd edition, 3.5, 3 there. What I'm playing currently is I like Blades in the Dark. I have questions for you about Daggerheart later.
Okay.
Because I have it, but I haven't cracked it. And some 5th edition and that sort of thing to kind of meet up with buddies and like BS, as you will.
Very cool.
What brought me to this is I won it at...
He won one of the giveaways for free RPG Day.
Okay.
Said I won it and had time to talk to Todd. Went through the thing. I'm colorblind as well, so the layout of the book and that sort of thing was very, very good. It's very, very helpful for that, and very easy to find what is going on, which is a big draw for this sort of thing. I'm hoping to see how we link missions together into like a play loop and that sort of thing.
It's kind of a campaign thing going on.
Yeah, yeah. That's my thought process. I want to see like the play, like what the play loop is, like start mission, intermission, doing things, downtime, expansion.
Gotcha.
That sort of thing, in like a very Blades in the Dark kind of way is how my brain's set up currently. I played a ton of games. Going back to First Ed, Moldvay, Redbox, all that stuff. I've gone back and forth. I've met Gary in 2007 before at the Gen Con he went to before he passed. Worked for Gary Con in like Geneva for a few years. I know a lot of people in the industry, kind of by an accident, but here we are anyways.
Thanks.
My name is Jason. I'm started in 1983 with the Red Box. I'm familiar, and I've played a lot of games, a lot of one-shots of things just to try them out. And I heard about the Vanguard Protocol through Todd, the author, and sounds interesting. And we did some brainstorming before it was fully published. And I'm interested to see how it turned out. And I do love time travel, and I'm using it as a major plot point in one of my current games. So, finding out another perspective and how to incorporate it into a role-playing system in an alternate way attracts my interest in it.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks for that. Does everybody have a copy of the thing? We do. Did you want? Okay. You can use this as a frame of reference that we have here. You've got your copy, right? Okay. Great. I'm going to hand out. Is this the one that's to me? Yes. This is the best step one. I'm going to hand these out. Take one and pass it down. These are just packets that I put together on a short outline of what we're going to talk about today.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Doc. Did you get one?
Yep. Okay.
Oh, you didn't get one?
Good. I saw the PDF.
Lisa? Yeah, I sent it to you. Yes. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about the game before we crack this open really quick. There's a short workshop agenda at the beginning that talks about what we're going to talk about for as long as we can talk about it. I hope to get through all 10 of these and give a good amount of time for questions and closing at the end. If not, you can always, ping me on Facebook if you've got my information there, or you can ping me on Discord, or you can email me straight from the website.
Sure.
So, what I want to talk about first is a little bit about Vanguard, is at the table concepts. As with any RPG, you can play this with your X cards. You can play it with lines and veils. Make sure that you do that. Don't cross any borders with standard RPGs that you have. Sometimes when you're creating things in the Vanguard, timelines can get messy.
Is it?
And when players change the timeline, it could really scramble your brain. The first time I did it, when we did play testing and we did a couple of missions in the sets, when the players would change things, I know a lot of you who have run games, when the players go off the map or they don't do what you created for that week, everybody has that type of, everybody's experienced that. But it's a little bit more gravitas when they change the timeline, because when they're changing things, they're not just not going to the inn at this city and going over to the forest for the elves or whatever you're trying to do. They're actually changing how the tavern appears. They're changing who's in the tavern and when it comes. And so you're not just changing the aspect of what they're seeing, you're changing the entire environment when they change the timeline. So keep that in mind, and it can get kind of messy when you're designing things. So take a step back like you always would when they don't go to the inn and they go to the forest. Take a step back and look like, well, what happens if they change, who owns the inn? Who's in charge of this realm or this things if you're doing it this way? So the timeline is always refracted in front of the player. So anytime they change something, it changes in their aspect of everything else.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Good.
So keep that in mind as you're designing.
It goes back to that big question of, if you go back and kill baby Hitler, how would that change?
Exactly. And you go back. Yeah. It's all of the stuff that would, if you were to do that, go back and, assassinate Hitler and then go forward in time. Would a World War II have happened? Would Mussolini have taken over? I mean, you got to explore all those different types of avenues, and it's totally up to you how you want to do it. Yeah, everything in front of your characters is always facing forward. It's not a Back to the Future kind of, one and done.
One tree
thing.
pines.
No, it's not One Tree Pine. It's not Marvel Avengers, if I can say that without using copyright laws. Copyright Disney, not 1094 or whatever I got to say. It's not like that. It's always, your characters are always facing forward in their own timeline. So anytime they change something, they see everything as it's changed. Yeah, everything around them. So
Another way to kind of think of it is a lot of time travel games try to avoid a paradox. This one thrives on paradox.
yeah,
From a writing perspective, are you doing would you have an event and then have different things that would change, that could change, and then leaving that up to whoever's running the games go, well, this makes sense for what it is, and kind of going with that or riffing off that sort of thing?
you would have to definitely riff off a couple of
Of course, yeah.
But my imparted knowledge to you is it's not just as simple as they don't go to the tavern and they go to a forest. It's like they've moved the tavern over here, and the forest no longer exists over here because the orcs took over, because they changed something in the timeline, that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, you can't cheat. You turned left instead of right. Well, whatever was there is.
Mm-hmm. Now you don't even have the option to turn right.
Yeah. Yeah.
How much rippling through time butterfly effect kind of thing next they can do it?
That's totally up to you.
Okay.
You can do the butterfly effect. You can, if you really want to throw them off, you have to read the table. Mm-hmm. If I've learned, especially with playtesting and some of the stuff that I've done, I keep holding my phone because those are my notes. Please don't think I'm ignoring it or anything. I like to talk with two hands. When you got to be careful on how much time change you actually give to your players, because you can definitely overwhelm them within seconds. This thing has been done. I'm running a campaign right now where one of the players, a female operative, the commander who's running the operation and sending them back in time turned out to be her uncle. That was a part of the timeline change. It just happened to be that way and why she was recruited. A lot of subterfuge going on there. But when they went back in time, following somebody else who did this, they prevented her mother and father died. That's how she became an orphan and became part of the faction and why she started. When they went back in time, she saved her father and her mother died. So now I've got to rewrite when they came back to 2256, everything changed because her father survived and her mother died. So did she become an operative? Is she still part of the same faction? Don't lose agency with your players, but at the same time, they have to release some of that to you. So it's up to you how much ripple you want to go down that part to save a lot of face. Maybe her father died a number of years later for some reason, and she still became an orphan, still joined the thing. So reduce the ripple effect. But don't give too much to your players at the table, because you can overwhelm them really quick, and they have to absorb all that stuff every time you change it.
Your player could be like a locked in time, right? So like that player comes back and like whoever survived, and they come back, and then nobody at the organization knows who they are.
Yeah, that's happened as well.
Like
The commander that sent them on those missions to go back doesn't exist now.
correct.
And the doctor that they were, trying to chase to do something like that, now she's in charge of the missions. And so that puts everybody in tense. And so when they come back from this timeline thing, they have to go back and read files and figure out who they are in this timeline, because their counterparts are all melted away. Now they've taken their place in 2256. So they have to go back and read. It's like, oh, how did I join the organization and stuff? And then there's tension at the table because the NPCs think that you behave in one way, kind of like your Star Trek Mirror, where they think, Kirk, Spock, the whole thing is, ruthless and stuff like that. But then the goods get switched with the bad, and then they have to be kind of covert so that they don't get caught, that kind of thing.
Can it be a slow change of timeline? So like so using the tavern example, you change something before the tavern, it's a new owner. But the thing you changed, you can butterfly out to whatever. So say the tavern's there and you're experiencing the time a little different. So when you go back, it's a new owner, and then you start seeing different people or types of people and like cars and things like that. So you like slow roll with
it. But it'll drive you crazy. Okay. The Band-Aid effect keeps your sanity as a game master. Because if you're trying to keep track of all of the slow changes, your players will get lost in it. That's what I found out. If you just do the Band-Aid thing where everything changes as soon as they step back through it, it's a lot easier for you to take that, we'll step over the wall, now this exists. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you won't save your sanity. You'll end up going nuts trying to keep track of all the changes, and then you won't be running a campaign anymore. You'll be constantly brewing behind the characters.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
I say, does that make sense a lot? Please don't take offense. Does that sight in your mind the right way?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think more in like a narrative kind of.
You could do it that way, James, if you wanted to. It's totally up to you.
You can. It depends on like how elastic your thought process.
I can't do it. It would drive me absolutely crazy.
I wouldn't write it down. I would just go, here's some things I'm going to change, and then change.
Yeah.
And change them one after the other, and then go, yep, that's it. I don't care about it.
Another thing you have to take into account, too, is that some of your players who love playing the game are not as elastic as you might think they are. Mm-hmm. And so if things keep changing for them, eventually they start throwing up their hands. I don't have a constant to live against anymore.
Yeah, gotcha.
So, yeah, there has to be some constant for them to live against in the world, or they can't role play against it.
I mean, that's the existential horror bit of it.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see.
I got a question for you.
Absolutely.
And I'm brand new to this. I don't know anything about it other than what you've already talked about. So, is there like technology in this that can help the player characters know what the current timeline is?
Yes.
Okay.
You have a basic heads-up display and an arm thing that you can look at. You can look at clock down, your time anchor, your timers, how far back you go into the timeline.
Not that, but I mean like
to catch up on
what's changed if something changes.
No.
Okay.
Generally, you're not going to know that it changed. You will have some memory of the original timeline, so a brief time, but within days, a lot of it's gonna fade.
And
if that makes sense,
and that's your brain's adjusting to the new timeline.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the smash and grab of it. That's you come back and, all your clothes are blue instead of yellow, that kind of thing. And you're like, what? And your players have to react to that. And then that helps you build around the campaign.
Yeah, there are factions that specialize in mapping timeline changes, like the Chrono Guard.
Yeah.
And they have tools and abilities that help them go, wait a minute, this is a branch and, we need to look into this, that type of thing. Because in the game, I'm playing in the game that he's talking about, where we went back and saved the father instead of the mother, and one of us is playing a Chrono Guard. And so we look to him a lot and saying, well, why is this different? And he's like, okay, this is a new timeline. We're doing this and, this is why. So
a lot of this will come out as I talk about the Prime line. It'll talk about the Chrono Guard. It'll talk about the 5 factions, kind of stuff like that. But yeah, they do have technology. Chrono Guard maintain the Prime line.
They're kind of focused.
They're kind of like the overseers. They know what the Prime line looks like, and everybody else is kind of fake it.
Yeah. They're the TVA in Loki.
I was about to say.
Yeah.
That's my cinematic pointer.
Yeah.
Let me wrap up my notes really quick. Do we answer
Again, copyright Disney, the whole
Thanks. Like David was talking about, this game interacts very well with all other game types on the planet, whether it's Call of Cthulhu, Blades in the Dark, Shadow Dark, 5e, whatever you want to do. And you don't have to change the rule set for anybody else at the table. When your players for TVP come into your game, your rule set sits on top of theirs, whether it's sorcery or whatever it's like that. The rules for this interacting with other people at the table are they're not seamless, but they're really, really close for what you can do. Since this is just a 2d10 thing, if you've got people using magic or weapons at combat, since everything is skill-based and all of your checks and everything are done against this, you just roll, and it either happens or it doesn't happen. You got your bonuses and stuff. It's real simple to sit on top of another rule set. So you're interacting.
What's an example?
An example would be
Like just base like D&D.
I don't play 5e so much, but
Well, I'm older is fine. I get the touchdown.
if you let's say you had 2 operatives go back,
Yeah.
and their goal was to prevent these ogres from taking over this one fire giant village or something.
Gotcha.
And they're helping the players do this because they prayed to the gods, and the gods said, okay, here's 2 operatives. And just for instance,
Yeah, correct. Because they have a different.
they go to the ogres thing, and let's say okay, well, we don't really know where the ogres are at. So you have your Vanguard people that you can pull up topographical maps based on this. If they have that kind of info, they can take them there.
Yeah.
They can do inspiration checks against that. They can do reaction checks like, oh, here come the ogres. We're going to set a trap for them over here. So it would give your players a little bit of an advantage having that kind of technology. But let's say they can't find the village because there's no GPS or there's no something like that, or my gear's not working right away. I can pick up heat signatures over there, but I don't know what it is. So you're kind of balancing it out between 5e and the Vanguard.
And that's a GM call.
Yes, it's totally.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking like, do your operatives show up and they're like fireball? Like,
Well, I mean, you would take the fireball and do the damage. If you got caught in a fireball, you would just take a certain amount of damage for that.
yeah, you'd have to do some like mental math to swap that over from one to the other, but that's relatively simple. But the operatives they're showing up and they have like, I've got my shotgun and my arm thing, and we're going. And yeah, nobody knows what's going on, but it's fantasy. No one cares anyway.
So is mine.
Sure.
About the only thing that would equate some of it would be like if you were using like modern handguns where bullets, when you're doing tap and ball or something like that, where you shoot something, armor does half damage.
Yeah.
Based on, the armor that you're doing, magic and fireball would just do the same amount of normal damage. I'll go into this and you can read this in the core rules, but every operative in Vanguard starts with 30 hit points. There's no rolling or anything like that. You're always at 30 hit points when you start. So that's the new line. And so every check that you do is always done at a DC 15. It doesn't matter what it is. And then you add your bonuses to it, and then you just simply roll, and you're done.
Right.
So you always know the target number's 15. You just roll 2d10. Do you make it or you don't? Do you have any bonuses that'll help you? Are you using any gear that would do it? Is there an environment that would change it? And that's it, and you're done. Do you jump across the chasm? Okay, well, what's your dexterity? You know, there's the 15. Do you make it?
Yeah. As for a lot of the technology that's in the book is open to GM interpretation, like the HUD and the arm guards and things like that. That's not really in the book. That's kind of a GM call as to, you know, at what tech level do you want your characters to start at? So, you know, he's you know, started us at a tech level kind of high, but not too high, you know. So we do have the wrist, the arm guards and the HUDs, you know, the displays and things like that. But we're not into the fully cybered, you know, I have enhanced hearing and things like that type of thing. The closest you get to that is the chips, which is probably going to talk about here in a few minutes. But it is totally up to the GM how you want things to work and how far you want your technology and or, you know, even if you want to throw magic into it, you could probably do that too.
And can they change with the, so like if you're like, yeah, I don't have the topographic math, I see heat signatures over there. Is that like, since you strayed so far, is it that where you're showing up to Ogreville and you used to be at IKEA right before that? It's that your tech has changed, or like how your tech interacts with the world has changed.
It could be that, or it could be, you know, oh, I'm showing that there's Ogre HUD is supposed to be right there, but it's not. Okay, what changed here? You know, yeah, my data is no longer accurate. Okay, was there a ripple in the timeline? Is it something someone else did?
It's someone else.
Yeah.
Because that's probably the whole reason why you're there.
Yeah.
Still be there, correct it. Stop the ogres from taking over the fire giants or something like that, so that this doesn't happen.
Okay. Because there's multiple factions in this game, and not every faction is working towards the same goal.
No.
Correct.
Yeah. So some, you know, so you might jump in and then be like, wait, this isn't right. And then you realize, wait a minute, I've got signatures from other factions that are operating over there. What did they mess up? Yeah. So.
Okay. I know we bounced around a lot.
Yeah, sorry.
Question. No, you're not. No. Eventually we're going to cover the whole thing. And if I cover it again, just bear with us on that side. But no, these are all great questions. These are all great questions. No bad questions. So I'm going to dig into the outline here really quick. The first part's just going to talk about the sections of what we're going to talk about. So I'm not going to insult anybody's intelligence by reading out of this too much. I'll just read the headlines and then we can talk about it. Hopefully take a break here in a little bit. We're starting at, we talked already a little bit, and we're already at 1:30. So let's see. I'm going to talk about what makes the Vanguard Protocol different. We've already covered a little bit of that, you know, in the topics. I'll talk about the core rules at the player side gameplay. The sheets, I have actual sheets for the players that I'll hand out. You can look at the stats and you can look at the gear based on the gear and everything that's in the book. I'm going to talk about the tension and paranoia that you can bring to the table based on what it is. I think that's a main driving factor. A couple of games like that is like Paranoia or Call of Cthulhu, where you have that insane kind of thing. You can drive that same kind of focus at the table as well. Okay. With the time travel. How to prepare and run a Vanguard mission is also in the book, and I'll talk a little bit about that. How to build missions, character training and mission review. We're going to go over the character sheet in a little bit in depth. Like I said, you can use the fillable PDFs that are online, or you can use the character generator. But I'll talk about the stats and I'll answer your questions about, how does gear work? Why are there limitations this way? Why can we do this? How does movement work? Why is everything limited to hexes instead of feet? That whole kind of thing. And how it plays in. And then what I'll do is I'll actually have you guys, if we have time, I'd like for you guys to actually run a mission. I have a mini mission built in here, very, very small. And I've broken it down into 4 sections. So I'll have somebody run the beginning section and the 2 middle sections and then the end section. And then we'll evaluate and we'll ask questions going back and forth. Why did you do this? Why did you change the timeline this way? Why did this happen? And it covers a little bit of combat too. So it's not too far in depth, but it's enough to give you that flavor so that you can run something a little bit that haven't do that. And then we'll try and do some questions at the effect. Everybody good?
Yep.
So far? Everybody still interested?
Yes.
Yeah. A lot of this is, I'll let you read through if you want to while I'm talking, but it's just a workshop overview. It's going to talk about what I just talked about, like Section D, the 4-game master rotation that we're going to do, and play the mission. It's just like a small training mission. Some of the workshop goals that I want to accomplish in Section 2, explain the basic settings, run basic attributes, cover the character sheets, explain skill chips, movement, loadouts, cold swapping, hot swapping. If you're familiar with these terms, great. If you haven't read the book and you've never seen this before, that's great too. We're going to cover it, but please ask questions. A lot of it's very intuitive about how to do things. Did you buy the PDF online? No. Did you that? You bought the PDF online, but you had a chance to go through the rules or something a little bit?
Gen Con happens.
Gen Con.
I get it, bro.
Did you crack the book? Did you look at it a little bit?
Yeah, I read through at least half of it before Gen Con. Like the hot swapping, just think of it like a computer. You're just putting memory on.
Nothing. Yeah.
So, and hot swap is you're doing it fast. Cold swap is you have time to do it correctly.
You're shutting down the USB drive before you pull it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep the mission moving when players have unexpected, decisions and stuff like that. Know how to request, information from me if you need it, and so forth. So that's what I hope to accomplish today. So let's see. A lot of this we've already covered. All right. So let's move into Section 3, letter C. It's about simple rules and the player side gameplay. This is the longest section of what we're going to talk about. I will go ahead and give you the pre-gens. Does anybody care what they get? These are straight off of the site. I have 6. If you guys just gonna look at those really quick, we'll talk
You
about.
can decide if you want that one to trade with me, but I don't think.
They're all just there. You want to hear this?
But
Now, one question about timelines.
Okay.
Is there one real timeline as modified by everything, or are there many different timelines?
There is one timeline that holds constant when you start the game. When you say, I've got players, here's the game, I'm going to open the book. That's when the timeline starts. That's your timeline. Wherever you want it to start, that's the only constant that you have to remember when you start your campaign or start your one-shots. It's the prime line. It can be different from Mike's. It can be different from Dave's. Whatever you want to call it, it'll be prime line 2187, whatever. As long as you don't deviate from that, you'll maintain your sanity. But the Chrono Guard are the ones that actually maintain the prime line. That was, if you read the history in the beginning of the book, there's like a 4-page thing with a couple of paragraphs that talks about the Vanguard Protocol and actually how it came to be. But if you, whatever timeline, Scott, that you want to have, that's totally up to you. From 2256. Read these 4 pages in here when you do it, and then take it from there.
Now, can players branch off and create their own timeline?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I encourage GMs to make their own type of timeline.
So that leads back to, there's 2 schools of thought on time travel. The first is, if I go back and change something in the past, then it creates a new branch of time, and now we are on that branch. The second one is, if I go back and change something in history, it was meant to be and nothing changes because you can't change past. Whatever I did to change something was meant to happen.
We like the sheer grandmother.
Yeah.
This game is actually built on the premise of the first concept.
Yeah.
Where people are changing stuff in the timeline for their own advantage. Each one of the faxes are changing it to either get a leg up or something like that. There's no wealth acquisition in the Vanguard, because when you stop and think about it, in time travel, if I go back and steal the Mona Lisa and bring it to the future to sell it, if I got 500 other people that are doing the same thing, the Mona Lisa doesn't, it doesn't have any value anymore. Gold doesn't have any value anymore. So these things don't have value. So there's no acquisition of wealth in the Vanguard.
Sort of biting sports almanacs and bringing back to
Correct. To send it, if you want to do that. So, but in your timeline, if you want to do that, then that's fine. Richard Whitmire, a friend of mine who's actually starting his campaign, he actually started his campaign with his operatives operating back in the 80s. So their base of operation is in like 1984. And they're going back in time from that point. Some of the factions are gaining wealth so that they can set their position up better to time travel in 1984. Does that make sense? Somehow they got cut off from 2256 and they can't go back. So they've set up their base camp in like 1984 and they're changing timelines that way. And you've got people that are coming from 2256 back to mess with them in the 84. So, it all depends on how you want to run it. And I was like, hey man, run with it. That sounds fantastic. I had totally no idea you could even conceive to do that. But he just completely changed his base of operations to operate in the past.
So, back to your point, there is one prime line.
Yes, there is one prime line. But
if the players do something to change it, that could be the new prime line
for them,
them.
remember your future was always forward facing. So like in the table that David is at, when they went back and they saved Miranda's father, now they have a new prime line.
Good.
But that's, and everybody from that time period operates as though, no, this is the prime line. This is the way things exist.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the rest of us are like, no, not really.
So it depends upon how you want to run it.
Yeah. So, yep.
Cool. So off of the character sheet that we have, this is generated automatically from the auto generator on my website. Names of the veteran builds that you have on there. Off of the website, you could generate either a rookie, a standard, or a veteran character. And all it does is just changes the stats a little bit. It gives you a little bit more gear and skill. But we're going to cover things like the weapons and armor and shields and the gear. This character is part of the different factions. So let me back up just a spin. Core attributes. Do I need to discuss strength, dexterity, intelligence, or health with anybody? No, everybody starts at 30 health in the book. You can have more than 30 health based on what you have as an operative or beef ups that you've made to your host. But everybody starts at 30 hit points, basically, 30 health. It level sets combat a little bit, especially if you know how much damage you can do with your weapons and how much it would take to kill another operative, because it's operative on operative, when you're doing that type of combat, unless it's an NPC and then they have a different, they have a different set of health.
So it's not like me and Beanie, where you're going to have 100 hit for each kind of
No, I level set everything at 30. I think I've seen some operatives have like maybe 37 health because of some of the augments that they have. But, that's just another die roll to get another set of hit points. So, your operative, let me see if I can describe this. This is the hardest part, and Mike's helped me out with this so many times. Let me see if I can describe this to you. So let me get your full attention really quick. Your operative is your characteristics chip. Every operative runs off of a characteristics chip. And in that characteristics chip, you have slots. Your slots are, when you start, you get 2 offensive slots, and I'll explain what the slots do. You have 2 defensive slots, and you have 1 augment slot. Okay? The 2 offensive slots are for skills, and the defensive slots are for skills. And the augments are for augments chips. Your skills as an operative come from these chips that you acquire. Okay? Whether it's shoot around a corner or long range or, swimming or jumping or hiking or, strength augments. Whatever your chips do is what your operative does. You operate that characteristics chip in a host body. That host body can be either human or cyborg. So in essence, you really don't die in this game unless somebody destroys your characteristics chip. If your host body dies from enough damage, 30 hit points, 30 health, it is conceivable that Randy could run over to Scott and grab his characteristics chip out of there and find another host and stick his chip in there and boot up next round, and he's back in business.
Okay.
So you can't really die. And there's rules built around this in the game about your characteristics chip and how it becomes vulnerable. And if somebody smashes it, then you're dead. You have to build another character. But as long as you can keep your characteristics chip and put it in another host body, you're good to go.
So is this kind of like in the Matrix where they kind of plug you in, get an immediate training?
I know Kung Fu.
Yep, I know Kung Fu. That's kind of one of the things that actually inspired me to do this.
Just out of curiosity, I just had a weird idea on whether it's in your camera or not, but is it possible to have like almost like a multi-disc CD player where you can like switch it out?
You do. Your characteristics chips hold all of your slots and all of your chips. So I said, basically, when you start a character like the rookie that's floating around here somewhere, he has or she has 2 offensive slots, 2 defensive slots, and 1 augment slot. As you advance through the game, you don't get experience points, rather, you get character points like you do in GURPS. And you could spend those character points to buy more slots, more chips, or more augments, or whatever you want. Obviously, you got to have more slots to add more chips. And all of the costs and everything are in the book. You have, am I losing anybody so far?
No, I got it.
Yeah? Like Terrell, So, you advance from, not level to level, but you advance as a more, like a Venetrip operative, the more slots and stuff that you have. You can do more things with your skill set.
No, this one just says memory slots 4/4.
Okay, so you have 4 offensive slots, 4 defensive slots, and then you have whatever it says for augment slots that are on them. Doesn't say augment slots. It's probably listed in the augments on the second page. It could be 2, 2, and 2. I don't know. It depends upon how it was generated.
It says 20 Steve Freed.
Character points. Yeah. You've used 20 out of 20 character points, or you have. These were just auto-generated.
You can the total website you can plug in 8 skills. Think of it as like micro SD slots inside of your head.
And the other thing is you can have higher level slots. You know, we start out buying a level 1 slot. You can increase it to a level 2, to a level 3. And if you have, like, there are some chips, some skills that are level 5. And you don't have anything above a level 3 slot.
Correct.
So you would have to basically slot it, double slot it.
Yeah.
Basically, it would go into a level 3 and a level 2, or something like that.
There are certain levels to slots, and they're all in the rules. But you have skills that you can get off of the general catalog that you can just buy with character points, and they're level 1, 2, and 3 skills. Level 4 and 5 skills are faction based. So whatever faction you belong to, you can also get their level 1, 2, and 3 skills. But level 4 and 5, which are really high ones, you have to belong to the faction in order to get them. And you get faction points to spend with the faction, and you buy those. The slots that you have, the highest level slot that you can have to put anything in is level 3. So like David was talking about, if you buy enough faction points, or get enough faction points, if you buy a level 5 skill from Redline Pulse or from Iron Pact, from your faction, you'd have to put that chip into a level 4. It would take up a level 3 and a level 2 slot.
Can you partial slots? So if you have 2 level 3 slots and you had a level 5 chip,
Nope.
would you still have a chip left?
Has to fit.
Okay, so you need specifically the 3 and 2.
A 3 or 2
or a 3-1-1, or whatever adds up to 5.
So it adds a little bit of flavor to you as a character, or you as an operative. You have to maintain the slots and the chips and everything that you want, based on that. And loot is simply like if you come across a bunch of, like, you wipe out the Redline Pulse and you run over to them and you start pulling their chips out. They might have 3 or 4 different chips that you don't have. And as long as they're generalized chips, you could use them. But if you're not Redline Pulse, if you're Iron Pact, you can't use Redline Pulse faction chips. Faction chips are locked to the faction. That's the only thing that you can't cross the line with.
Yeah, there's one outside case for that, for sure.
Yeah.
And I'll go over that in a second. So the 5 factions are, anybody?
Chrono Guard,
Chrono Guard.
Grey Vault,
Somebody else? Grey Vault.
Phantom Synapse.
Phantom Synapse.
Cron.
crumbs in it on the Iron Pact.
Yeah, Iron Pact.
Okay. If I had to equate the factions to a well-known popular role-playing game that everybody likes to play, your Iron Pacts would be your tanks. They're the ones that are heavy reinforced with frame armor. They're the high-powered weapons. They stand and take it kind of thing. Those are your tanks. Your Phantom Synops are basically your rogues. Deception. They have invisibility. They can move in and attack, at a whim. They don't take a lot of damage, but they can do a lot of damage, kind of covertly. Your Redline Pulse are your DPS. They can't take it. Man, can they dish it out.
They're blast cannons.
They're blast cannons, and they take it and they come at you hard and fast. Those are your Redline Pulse. Your Chrono Guards are basically like, what was that movie I keep referencing? The Kingsman. Remember that movie, The Kingsman, where they're all proper, they're British and stuff like that. They all listen clean, but they kick all kinds of butt.
Yeah.
That's your Chrono Guard. They're very proper. They're very clean, very, FBI looking with all the gear and everything they have. They have a lot of gear.
Almost paladin.
Almost paladins.
That's what I was thinking. So they focus on
They focus on the prime line. They will hand you your butt if you're not careful. But they're very proper.
really focus on logic and
Means honor, prime line, and honor. Stuff like that. If you're
Very goal.
yeah. And then you have
To them, the prime line is everything, and our prime line is the right one, and yours is wrong.
yeah. And everybody has all of these factions that I'm telling you about have their different views of what the timeline should have.
Time comes. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have the Grey Vault. Grey Vaults are your hackers. They're the ones that are all technologically beefed out, and you could be Iron Pact and standing there and taking it as everybody's shooting you, and the Grey Vaults come in and just take over your mind and take over your chipset, and turn you off and make you reboot. You fall on the floor until next round until you reboot, or hack apart a vault door so they can get open and stuff. Everything about them is electronic and unseen. And the hacking attempts and stuff.
it's all ethereal.
It's exactly. So those are your basic 5 factions. There is one faction set that I created at the last minute. It's Crumb that I really like. Is called the Crumb. A Crumb is something that you really it depends upon you if you want to do it. Your Crumbs are your factions that have been disavowed. You're no longer with a faction. You're a sellsword. You're a
Pure run.
you're a rogue.
A rodent.
Exactly. You have to have been in the rules that I wrote it, and it's up to you. In the rules that I wrote it, your Crumb has to have belonged to a faction to be disavowed. And then when you get disavowed, you keep all of your faction-based skills and stuff like that. So if you were part of Redline Pulse, you don't lose your Redline Pulse skills or anything like that. You just lose your contacts, and you become a Crun, and you have to rely on other people to travel down the timeline. And you basically sell sword for skills and different things to make yourself go forward and get character points. But you're awarded character points from the GM just like anybody else. But one thing the Crumbs can do that nobody else can do is that once you become a Crumb, you have to use a certain amount of character points to do it. You create a chip that allows you to, and it permanently takes one of the slots in your characteristics chip in the slot. So it's a level 1, and it permanently allows you to hack other factions' chips. So you can hack the Redline Pulse, or if you're on a mission and you run up against Iron Pact and you grab a level 5 chip, you're like, I'm going to hack this later. And you keep that in your pocket, and you go back and you make one uncontested roll, no modifiers. You just roll that dice based on the chip level. If you make it, that chip's yours. You can use it. Okay. Nobody else in the game can do that.
Correct.
Faction chips are all locked in. But Crumbs are the only ones that should hack those a fight.
Are they kind of like doppelgangers then? Like where they can make themselves look like other factions if they wanted to?
Not really, no.
I mean, you can dress as them.
You can dress as them. But
Pretending.
one of the things that, and I think David brought this up earlier on, is that in the Vanguard Protocol, you have the heads-up display. You've got speakers, mics, unless you're getting, communications, unless you're getting jammed and stuff. You can all talk to each other no matter where you're at. But I forgot where I was going with that.
Ping factions. You can always tell what factions.
Oh, yeah.
By how they ping.
Yeah, you can look at a different faction. If you're Redline Pulse and I'm Iron Pact, as soon as I look at you, I see you emit a Redline Pulse signature. If I know you're Redline Pulse. You know, if I've got heat signature moving across the forest, I can see that there's 3 red line pulse guys right there.
So factions have like an aura.
Yeah, factions have an aura that you can throw around. Okay, yeah, see. And you can't mask that.
So for a given adventuring group, would everyone be in the same faction? Everyone's attacked.
Depends upon you. Sometimes factions come together to go against a specific faction. Sometimes, interests align for some particular reason. Like if you go and you download the Berlin Loop, the free mission that's on the website, that one actually has the pre-gens, and it's from 3 or 4 different factions where they all come together to help stop what happens with Hitler in the bunker.
There's at least one crumb in there, too.
There's at least a crumb in there too. And they've all come together because it's all in their best interests to fix what's wrong with the timeline.
That would more be a special mission this or you would not have any group of people who instead the entire campaign.
Depends.
You could.
Depends. In David's campaign, I have 3 different factions: the Phantom Synops, the Rayvault, and the Chrono Guard have all come together. Chrono Guard actually recruited the other ones for a specific reason. Yeah. So it all depends upon you as a GM. It's totally malleable. However you want to do it. I've even run play tests and games where I've had Iron Pact on one side of the table and Leadline Pulse on the other side of the table, and I had table on table action where people were going at each other in a PvP kind of setup because the factions were doing one specific thing.
Yeah, it's mostly how lyrical do you want the campaign to be with your players? If you've got,
does that answer your question?
If you've got certain adventures that need a certain faction to fix it, lock them in so you can only play this faction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or you can task force, like any of these groups come together, there's a task force.
Exactly.
There you go.
Yeah, kind of what we talked about before, shouldn't it?
Yep. And there's always crumbs.
Yeah. I ran a game where it was nothing but crumbs. Mm-hmm. But crumbs really don't have the ability because they're not faction oriented to jump through time. Mm-hmm. Factions run their own central organizations and they have different locations up to you where they can jump back through time. Okay, and I'll talk about how that works as well. Okay. Questions about operatives. Is everybody clear how the chipsets work? The clocks and the characteristics chips and stuff like that. I know it's a lot to absorb, but once you get the premise of how an operative works, everything else kind of falls into place. Thank you, by the way, for explaining that. Everything is done on a basic 2d10 system. Like I said, everything in the Vanguard Protocol revolves around DC 15. So you take 2 dice and you roll. Do I get 15? And you just add them together. Well, I got a 7 and a 5. So I got 12. I didn't make it.
But if your stat was high enough,
if I got +2 because I'm trying to do this hacking thing, if I've got +2 or +7 to my hacking, I made it. And it's just that simple. And it's not that hard either.
75% chance of success.
Right. And the reason that we went with 2d10s rather than the 1d20 is because of the arc and bell curve. The bell curve is completely like this.
Yeah.
The chances of you rolling a 1 are the same chances of you rolling a 17. Completely. And it just level sets the entire game doing that. And that made everything rely on the skills and the augments and everything that you buy as a player. So players are totally in control how powerful they want to be within its offensive or defensive, things like that.
And I think that also makes it easy to scale with other systems.
And it rides on top.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about anything.
So like, for instance, the Grey Vault character that I'm running in his game, I've stacked him towards hacking. And, between my stat and the bonuses I get from some of the chips that I purchased and slotted, I think I've got either a +7 or a +9, depending upon the situation to my roll. So
he could walk up to any door and hack it apart. He wouldn't have to use a data injector or anything like that. He can just, wirelessly. And again, it's my call, your call, as to you have to say, do things operate, manually as a cable? Do they operate wirelessly? Do they operate? It's totally up to you.
yeah, because one of my chips is a recon drone. And we made the call that is kind of like a hard light hologram drone. And I just, project it into being up to 20 hexes a day. And from that, I can see, what it's doing. But it's hard light, so it's got a little bit of, it'll only take one hit before it's destroyed. But it is physically there as a hologram. So, but you could decide, no, I don't want that high technology. It's an actual physical drone that maybe rests, that you carry on your arm and you launch it, So
generating those like that.
Yeah, I'm a little behind because I haven't had a chance to crack the learning inside. It'll make more sense once we start playing and doing like live examples.
Yep.
It's pretty abstract right now.
The skill checks, DC 15, difficulty checks, opposed checks are just exactly like what you're used to doing in other RPGs. Just roll off, whoever gets the highest one. As a GM, you assign difficulty class to, it doesn't have to be 15, it could be 10. Oh, this is a real easy check. It's only DC 10. And then you just roll off and add your modifiers.
Okay.
You can make it easy, difficult, hard, super hard, whatever you want to do.
it's impossible.
Ultimately, make it like 22, and then he comes in with a +9. It doesn't make any difference. But there is that chance that he could fail with rolling a 2.
I have failed.
Roll 2 1s and you're done. That's it. You fail. You roll 2 10s and you crit.
Okay.
Same as any other game. Natural 2, as they call it. So, and then there's different chips. I'll go over this widely. There's different chips and different things that you can do in the game, skills that you can get, where you can change the critical modifiers, where like 18, 19, and 20 would be criticals, or 1, 2s, and 3s would be critical fails, or 2, 3s, and 4s. Depends upon how you roll it, if that makes sense. So, I covered offensive and defensive. Oh, there's utility skills too. And those usually go in either an offensive or defensive slot. They're not restricted. Yeah. You have utility skills.
Offensive skills only in offensive slots, defense only in defense, utility any.
Yep.
And then augments are totally separate.
Sheet as well. See how those are marked utility. And so it's like that one does like one additional system in action, and does like access local stuff. So that's really like kind of hacking to a degree.
And everybody up quickly so far? Does anybody need a break? Are we good?
It's the excellent time for a break because we're at 1 hour over.
Okay.
So that'll start. It's not.
Okay. All right. It's 1:52 now. Let's take an 8-minute break.